Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking everything going on in the world of sports. Join in the conversation on social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go.
Instead of looking deep inside, every word I have to say, keep it simple.
Welcome to an all-new edition of the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. What's happening, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us this week. My name is Ken M. Joining me in studio, as always, you know him. He's the co-host. His name is Padawan J.
Hello, hello, hello.
Folks, we have a lot to talk about in the land of sports, and we definitely want to interact with you, so make sure to swing on over to odphpodcast.com. Join the conversation on all our social media accounts. They're all right there. We interact with everybody, even Coach Duffy. You can also check out the TeePublic store, where there's always something good to pick up for the summertime. Got a lot of new looks that are going to be coming on the site as well. And it's always a cool way to support the podcast, and we definitely do appreciate it. Check out Parlay Point's new Blogs Count Anywhere. Just came out, finally, for reasons. The classified section, the directory, if it's anything and everything that is the ODPH, you can simply find it at odphpodcast.com. And always remember on social media to use the hashtag ODPHpod. Kicking off the sports talk on this edition, though, we have to recap the latest happenings in the NBA playoffs.
Yeah.
What a series of events we've had.
Good Lord.
Some upsets, if you will.
Yeah.
So let us just deep dive and break down the latest standings, shall we, Pat?
Yeah, so of course, as we record, the NBA conference finals, the Eastern and Western Conference finals are getting ready to tip off. As we record, actually, the Eastern Conference finals are set to tip off tonight at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. That is between the Boston Celtics taking on the Miami Heat. And then starting on Wednesday will be, that is May 18th, taking place will be the Dallas Mavericks taking on the Golden State Warriors. That game taking place at 9 p.m. Eastern, that on TNT. And I gotta say, finals, I'm not normally dialed in, tuned into everything going on with the finals. I'll keep an eye on, I'll pay attention to some stuff, but like this year I've been kind of dialed in with a lot of stuff and paying attention just because, and I can't take credit for this. Somebody pointed out, for a lot of people, myself included, I think these playoffs are so exciting because it's not predictable. Mm-hmm. It's not like the last couple of years or, the last dozen years or so where you can look at it and go, okay, there's a field of however many teams there ends up being, but like you clearly know who's going to make it on the West, who's going to make it on the East. It's just a matter of getting there and Cinderella getting there before after midnight, type of thing. But for this year, not the case. There's a couple of teams like, oh yeah, they're pretty good. Yeah, they should be good. They should cruise through. And no, not the case.
No, definitely not. I mean, this year has got a lot of parity, especially in the Eastern Conference. Mm-hmm. I thought has been some of the best basketball we've seen. Yeah. The Western Conference has kind of gone in the way I thought it was going to go, with the exception of one series. So it's been a little curveball seeing the Dallas Mavericks of all teams. Emerged to get to face the Golden State Warriors. Yep. That has been the biggest surprise for me.
Oh, yeah.
Because I thought with Phoenix and Chris Paul back, we were going to have deja vu. Everything was going to start clicking.
Right.
And man, oh man, were we surprised.
Yeah, because you got to remember, this is a Phoenix Suns team with Chris Paul that is, not even a year removed from making it to the NBA Finals.
Right.
And I still think a lot of those players they had from last year are still intact. Everyone's a year older, but still the talent level to me is still there. So it's just interesting to see that Dallas came in and basically, especially with that Game 7, god damn.
Break that down for us, Pat.
So that game was absolutely fucking nuts. That game took place on Sunday, and the Mavericks won by the final score of 123-90. And Luka Doncic was your leading scorer, 35 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists. At one point, the Mavericks were up by like 40 or something absurd like that, and then Luka had as many points at halftime as the Suns did for a team.
That's insane.
Yeah, like I think at halftime, if I remember correctly, the Suns only had 27 points, which was as many as Luka had by himself.
That's just crazy to think about, too, because especially with how well Phoenix had been playing.
Yeah.
And to see Dallas scrap with them, I'll give them their due. Like I say, I'm not the biggest Dallas fan because, well, when you take on the unicorn and try making something happen there, you're not going to win over a lot of Knicks fans.
True.
But, I mean, Luka is having a stellar playoff performance.
Oh, yeah. And we always knew this was going to come from him. I mean, you just look at the body of work and just the talent level he has. You knew it was going to come at some point.
You knew it was going to happen, and I mean, that's something that all great players rise to the occasions when you're in the playoffs. I mean, you can have a great regular season, sure.
Oh, yeah, sure.
A lot of people do. But you're always remembered for what you do in the playoffs. And he showed absolutely no fear. And the fact, especially for a Game 7.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the one thing that you have to drive home. When it's Game 7, it's win or go home. It's that simple. And for the Phoenix Suns to come out that flat is atrocious.
Oh, it was awful.
Absolutely. Like, there's no excuse for it. I'm sorry, none. I know Chris Paul has been taking a lot of heat for it.
Oh, yeah.
Rightfully so in certain aspects of his game. I will say it's well-deserved. But this is an overall team effort, and Luka just took over that last game. I mean, like you touched upon, 35 points, 12 for 19 from the field. I mean, he definitely asserted his will, and he won that game outright by himself.
Oh, yeah.
And that's going to be something that they'll need to do facing Golden State moving forward.
I mean, Luka and the Mavericks whooped the Suns so damn bad that the Suns basically put out an apology letter to the fans.
Well, they should.
And I'm not even joking. So this letter from the Phoenix Suns is signed by James Jones and Jason Rowley, and it reads, "Today is a new day for Phoenix Suns fans. The work on next season is already underway. As employees, fans, partners, and PayPal sixth-man members of the Phoenix Suns, you should be proud of what you have helped this team and our organization accomplish. For 3 straight seasons, we have been raising the bar on expectations and accomplishments. That wouldn't have been possible without the incredible support from the best fans in the NBA, some of whom have been with us since the start in 1968. With greater success and expectation comes deeper disappointment. That's natural. Just know we all share in it, and our organization won't be satisfied until we bring an NBA championship to the Valley. We're in this together. We win together. We lose together. We fight together. And the only way we get better is together. Thank you for supporting us all season as we look ahead to the start of a new chapter."
Classy way to put it.
Oh, it is, but I don't think I've ever seen that happen like the day after a loss like that.
Well, I think that they understand the temp in the room. And the temp is you're the number 1 seed in the West. Your record that season, 64-18.
And you've got one of the best point guards of all time, Mad Dog Russo notwithstanding.
Yeah.
He is one of the best point guards of all time.
You have him. You have Devin Booker, a star in the making.
Yeah.
You have Ayton. I mean, you have players on your team that should be dominating or starting to.
And putting up more than, 27 points at halftime.
Yeah. The fact that you didn't and you came out that flat in a do-or-die situation. I mean, let's face it. They were up 3-2 in the series, too.
Oh, yeah.
But we didn't really dive in about it. The Mavericks came back in Game 6 and beat them 113-86.
Yeah.
This was almost like a deja vu performance to a degree.
Oh, yeah, and I'm just looking at the team stats. I mean, it's atrocious no matter how you look at it. The Suns in field goals were 33 of 87. Good for 37.9% from the field. 3-point, they were 12 of 34 for 35.3%. Free throws are about the only thing they did good in. They were 12 of 18, so that was good for 66.7%. But then rebounds, they only had 39. So, you just got blown out of the gym.
They got blown out of the gym, and there's no excuse for it. I mean, that's the problem you have. That Dallas is more or less a one-man team. Let's be honest about it. I know Spencer Dinwiddie is there, too, and he definitely contributed to the knockout.
Oh, yeah,
win there.
30 points.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm not going to take anything super away from him, but let's face it. When we talk about the Mavericks, it's all Luka. And Luka took over that game.
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things where, if you are a team, case in point, Golden State Warriors, you're able to shut down Luka. I'm looking at the box score for the game against the Phoenix Suns, and for everybody that played, because everybody played, there was no did not plays, there ain't nobody else on that bench that I'm going, shit, I got to worry about them if I'm doubling up Luka.
Yeah,
there's guys that, okay, they might go off and do whatever and, put up a performance. But, really, if I'm game planning for them, I'm not exactly scared.
Yeah, you're not exactly worried. I mean, this is the problem that you have with this team. That with Dallas, they played with house money and they cashed in. And I can't fault them on that. I will not fault them on that. I just look at the rest of your team here, and you take a look at Phoenix, so this is the problem that we're saying.
Yeah.
Game 7, you got the stats up.
Oh, I do.
How many points did Chris Paul put up?
Chris Paul himself put up 10 points.
Devin Booker.
11 points.
Ayton.
5.
So that's your nucleus. Mm-hmm. And your nucleus put up a combined 26 points. Do you not understand the problem? What the epic fail here?
Your leading scorer, just for the record, was a gentleman who did not even start. His name is, I'm pulling it up because it's abbreviated on the box score. A gentleman named Cameron Johnson from the University of North Carolina, was a first-round pick in the 2019 draft, and he had 12 points. He was your leading scorer for the Phoenix Suns, and he did not even start.
See,
yikes!
That's where the issue is. This team just fell apart. There's no excuse for it. Like I said, your nucleus. To just stress that. You have that core member of your teams. These guys are your franchise players. They need to shine in these moments. And I understand Ayton didn't play that much.
Right.
Okay. But still no excuse.
17 minutes, only 5 points, yeah.
Yeah. But Booker and Chris Paul in there over 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Unexcusable.
No, yeah. It's a bad performance, and it's a bad look from the coaching staff that, it's one of the hallmarks of good coaches. I mean, look at any sport, baseball, football, hockey, basketball. The good coaches will see something. And another one I can always think of is the Patriots in whatever playoff run it was in, where Gronkowski got hurt and left the game. And Gronkowski was a main feature of their offensive game plan.
Sure.
Belichick turned around and goes, all right, we don't have our A source of offense. We got to flip it to our B source of offense. We got to flip the script. Clearly, Chris Paul, who is your point guard, he's your go-getter, he's one of your guys. He doesn't have it going. He played 31 minutes, 10 points. He does not have it going. You got to figure something else out to do it.
Mm-hmm. And that's where the problem held. So, Dallas is moving on.
Yep.
Obviously, they have a very tough task ahead of them. I think of all the remaining teams, they have the biggest mountain to climb.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have to face a Golden State team that, love them or hate them, is clicking at the right time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, because you just look at the playoffs and how, they both got here. You had the Dallas Mavericks in the first round face the number 5 Utah Jazz, who they beat 4-2, so pretty handedly, I'd say.
Yeah.
Then this last conference semi-round, as we mentioned, Game 7 beat Phoenix. On the flip side, you had Golden State in the first round take on the number 60 Denver Nuggets, who they beat 4-1, so handedly.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the this most recent round, the Golden State Warriors played the Memphis Grizzlies, the number 2 seed, who they beat 4-2. So handedly. I mean, there was that one game where somebody asked Steph about the game plan, for game whatever it was, and he basically said, he didn't say to this exactly, but he basically said, "Oh, we're going to whoop their ass."
Yeah.
And then in turn, the Warriors got their ass whooped. So outside of that, they're clicking on all cylinders. I agree with you. Dallas might be able to pull out a win. Maybe 2 wins on a freak.
2 if they're lucky.
2 if they're one on a freak night. 2 if Golden State's having a bad shooting night, maybe. But Golden State's going to run through this. I'm going to say it's probably going to be another 4-2 or even 4-1 series win.
I will have to agree with you on this one. I mean, I think what we have to take a look at is a couple things. Memphis was banged up during this series.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Ja Morant obviously was playing as hard as he could, but but that injury, once he got hurt, it was.
Which surprised me, it did. Now, granted, I've never played basketball outside of recreationally in gym class in school. Didn't look that bad to me, but what do I know?
But for the amount that he puts his body through,
true.
That's the one situation. When he was playing hurt,
and I'm not doubting he was hurt, and I'm not sitting
here,
absolutely, and I'm not sitting here saying, "Oh, he was faking, he just didn't." No, I'm just like, wow, that really surprised me.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. But you have to think about how much he puts his body through.
Oh yeah,
and especially with how Memphis grinds wins. I mean, they're not exactly a finesse team to a degree. They will wear you out. They play very physical.
And he plays a very physical style, too.
Exactly. I mean, you think about it, if Game 1 could have gone a completely different way. That's the one they lost by 1 point.
Yep.
And obviously they tied the series up there. But once Ja was out for the remainder, it became tough. And this is where Golden State just clicked at the right time. I mean, I understand Game 5 was a different story when Memphis dropped 134 on the 95.
Yeah.
But Golden State knows the importance, that's the word I'm looking for, of not going to a Game 7 where all bets are off. And that's why the Splash Brothers definitely came in for a combined 59.
Oh, yeah, that's why I say don't let it get to Game 6, because Clay in Game 6, yo.
Exactly. And especially they went on a run late, 23-7.
Yeah.
See, this is why they understand the situation. And it's nothing against Memphis. Memphis is a very young team.
Just Golden State's been there. They know what to do. They're gelling.
Exactly. That's the one thing. So next year, I don't doubt Memphis making a deeper run.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. I think they're maybe one player away from really doing some serious damage.
Oh, yeah.
But I think for right now, it's the Splash Brothers, the dynasty, if you will, of Golden State's final run.
Yeah, no, it very well could be. I mean, we shall see. That series, of course, like we mentioned, kicks off on Wednesday. Currently, Golden State is favored by 5 points, and the over-under is 214.5. And then in terms of injuries, as of recording, Dallas has no injured players listed on the injury report per ESPN.com. And for Golden State, you have Otto Porter Jr., their small forward, listed as day-to-day. That is as of May 15th. And then Gary Payton II, their shooting guard, is listed as out.
Yeah. It's going to be tough, like I say, for Dallas. I just don't see them doing it. I think
like I said, it's going to be a 4-1, 4-2 series win.
I would say so. I mean, and this is just one situation that when Golden State is clicking, and you take a look at the momentum they have going into this. I mean, closing out Game 6, and like we said, Splash Brothers, 59 points between them both. And if Klay Thompson is back to a fraction of Klay of old, it's going to be tough for anybody to defeat them moving on. I'm sorry. It's just
absolutely.
You're asking for problems because if him and Steph are going and not all that pressure's on Steph, and Draymond, it will give you some points. He's not exactly the franchise guy per se at this stage. He'll give you minutes and he'll definitely give you some tough baskets. No question of that. But for what Golden State is going to be bringing to the table, it's going to be too much for Dallas. I'm sorry. I don't want to say it's as close to a lock, but unless Dallas gets lightning in a bottle from somewhere, and I'm not wishing any injuries, obviously.
Right.
But unless some real bad luck happens to Golden State, this should be an easy one and done. Like, they should get at least done by 5, if not 6. I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah, easily.
The talent level just isn't there. And this is where Golden State is going to be thriving. If they can punch their ticket to the finals, that's going to be a hell of a story, too, in its own right. Because coming out of the East, this is where things get interesting.
Oh, yeah.
So let us get the recap pad.
Yeah, so of course, as I mentioned before, this kicks off tonight as we record at 8 o'clock on ESPN between the number 1 seeded Miami Heat taking on the number 2 seeded Boston Celtics. Of course, back in the first round, you had the Miami Heat play the number 8 seeded Atlanta Hawks, who they beat 4-1 rather handedly.
Yes, they did.
And then in the second round, they played the number 4 seeded Philadelphia 76ers, who they beat 4-2. And then now here they are in the conference finals. And then on the flip side for Boston Celtics, of course, there's the game we've talked extensively about in the first round where they faced the number 7 Brooklyn Nets, and they did what, Ken?
They whooped them.
Swept them 4-0.
Yes, they did.
You might have heard about it. I don't know. And then in the second round, they faced the number 3 seeded Milwaukee Bucks, of course, the reigning, defending, undisputed champs, who they ended up beating 4-3. Took them the best of 7 games. And then here they are in the conference finals.
Well, let's jump into the Heat's run here, and especially, I will be the one to admit, my pick for the finals choked.
I'm still in it.
I know you are, but I will be honest about this. The Philly experiment did not pan out the way it should have. And this goes to show 2 things. One, Miami plays team ball better than arguably everybody else in the league. Arguably.
Oh, yeah. Well, that just goes down to Spoelstra and his coaching.
It does. And when you have Jimmy Butler, who does more of the little things right for that team, and you want to talk about a guy whose presence is felt on that squad, he makes everybody else work. You can't teach that. You can only sit there and watch him do those little things, get everybody going, hold people accountable for their plays, and make them better from it. I hate saying it, but because it's Miami, but damn, these guys are playing at such an elite level.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Oh, yeah, no, it's frightening.
It's absolutely frightening. And then to flip the coin to Philadelphia.
Hey.
You know, I hate seeing for Embiid, who has played an MVP season, even though he doesn't get the trophy for reasons. He has done literally everything he can.
There's not much else he can do.
There isn't.
Short of maybe going back in time and stopping Jimmy Butler from getting traded, but,
That would be the only thing, and I think he'll be the first one to admit that after Jimmy Butler, because once the Heat clinched, Jimmy Butler was screaming, "You kept Tobias Harris?" Mm-hmm. To paraphrase.
Yeah, and I think even Embiid did go, listen, even I don't understand why we did it.
Well, I think the problem was at that time, you were banking that Ben Simmons was going to be the guy. And hindsight is always 20/20. So you've learned from those mistakes, but unfortunately it cost you when it did.
Uh-huh.
And with them not re-signing Jimmy Butler, you going all in on Ben Simmons.
Well, they let Redick go, who was pretty good at that point, too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they've done so many misfires when it comes to loading that roster that this is why this team is in this position. And I honestly thought that James Harden would get the fire lit under him again. That I thought maybe getting away from the drama that is Brooklyn, who, by the way, got swept in the first round.
Yeah, they did.
Can't help but reiterate that point. I thought that he would get a little fire under him, that now the pressure is off him. He's just got to pan off Embiid. You can get something out of Maxey and Harris, and then you'd be in good shape. Sadly, that did not happen, because if you're giving James Harden the expectation of being an MVP, Pad, do you know how many points he dropped in that final game against the Heat?
I had it up. I went back away. Just give me 3 seconds. He had 11 points.
So 11 points for a superstar player
who could potentially sign a supermax contract in the offseason.
And that's a very big debate if he's worth it at this stage.
No, he's not.
I understand that there was some hype on First Take this morning arguing a point about that. There is no argument at this stage in the day. You can't give him that max contract.
If it's like time travel is possible, and it's the Houston Rockets James Harden, who was like he was like averaging a triple double for like 3 seasons or something absurd like that. I forget what it was. He was averaging a triple double for like 3 seasons at some point. If it's that James Harden, absolutely, he's worth every dollar if it's that James Harden. But this James Harden is not worth that money, because I'm just looking at his game log from the postseason. As I mentioned, 11 points in the last game. These are his remaining point totals for the series against the Heat, going from the most recent game to the earliest game. Mm-hmm. 14 points, 31 points, 17, 20, 16. Like, that is not the James Harden I'm expecting. Now, maybe he had something going on, an ankle wasn't feeling 100%, elbow wasn't feeling 100%. I don't know. I'm not James Harden. I'm not a team doctor for Philly. I don't know. But I'm looking at on paper, and I'm looking at what the season gave me, and I'm doing the eye test going, he's not worth the Supermax.
He's definitely not worth the Supermax. I'm sorry. When you think Supermax, you got to be dropping at least 30 a night. He only did that one time in that series.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the crunch time that you have to step up and you have to do this. You can't say that you're worth the Supermax money when you're putting up average numbers. I'm sorry. Like, the glory days of Houston are gone. And this pains me to say, because I like his game.
Right.
But he didn't come in ready to play in Brooklyn.
Right.
I know there was the drama about getting him out of Houston to Brooklyn in the first place. And, and honestly, I don't think he ever recovered from that. And then you tie in the whole Ben Simmons trade, which I honestly thought when they announced this, man, this is game over for Philly.
Well, and I'm just looking at his regular season averages. For this season, he averaged 21 points, 10.5 assists, and then 7.1 rebounds a game. In terms of the point totals, 21 points a game. That is his lowest season average since his last year in Oklahoma City in the 2011-2012 season, where he averaged 16.8 points per game.
That's ridiculous.
That is the lowest since his junior year.
And you know what? Playing in Philly, you're not going to get to slide with that. If you were at a market that didn't care about basketball, you could probably get away with that.
Yeah, and I mean, the years because I'm looking at the total, the years I'm talking about were the 2017-2018 season, he averaged 30 points a game. 2018-2019, he averaged 36 points a game. And then 2019-2020, he averaged 34 points a game.
Yeah,
if it's that Harden, Supermax.
Oh, yeah.
This one? Hell no.
You can't give it to him. No, you're exactly right. You have to produce to get that money. And I'm sorry, he's not producing to get that type.
Right.
He'll get paid. Like, there's no question about
somebody
this.
will.
Somebody's going to pay him probably a little more than they should.
God help their soul.
If they want to go Supermax, I could see that happening. I hope it's not the Knicks, because that would be a Knicks move that I would definitely see them doing.
Well, it all depends on how the Rangers do.
Yes, exactly. We are Blue Shirt Nation. We'll talk about that later in the show. God, yes, we will.
The Rangers determine what Dolan does with the Knicks, let's face it.
Yes, either that or we all got to go buy Dolan CDs to send them out on tour.
Because think about it this way. If the Rangers do good, Dolan's going to be happy, not screw with the Knicks. If the Rangers do poorly, then Dolan's going to screw with the Knicks.
Yeah, so far so good. But this is also the situation where teams really got to look and see where you're going to get from Harden, and is he the missing piece for a puzzle. I think in Philly's case,
yeah,
you're in a tough situation. I think you can offer him a contract to come back. You can't give him Supermax.
Hell no.
You can't.
Hell no.
You can't. You have to go out there and get somebody else to complement Embiid. I don't know exactly who's jumping out there that you could get, but it's a situation for them. They're going to need to go in a different direction.
Oh, absolutely.
Or change up philosophies of, what style of offense you want to do. Because if you are this good, and on paper you are, you have to hang with the Miamis, the Milwaukees, and some of the other teams in the East.
No, you got to look at something just because you're far enough along in that, like, you're at the point of the, there's the whole quote about, insanity and repeating and all that.
Mm-hmm.
We're at that point that, like, you've been trying this and trusting the process for how long?
Yeah.
And where has it gotten you? You've had some success and you've had some runs, but none of them ever as far as you would like. I think the time has come to really rethink the philosophy. That, like, okay, clearly we've tried this. This isn't working. We got to try something else.
I agree. I think you absolutely have to. Any other question about that, is just foolish. You have to reevaluate the process this offseason. And if you're going to bring back James Harden, that's a tough pill to swallow. Mm-hmm. That really is at this stage, because he's going to be looking for Supermax money. You should not give it to him, because I'm sorry, if you're barely getting 20 points a night, let alone 30,
right?
What's the sense in doing that? And it's not a situation where Philly needs to have names in that lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Philly respects when you can ball. If you can't ball, they're going to boo you out of the building every single night. It's arguably the toughest fan base in all professional sports.
Pretty much.
They don't care how much you're making unless you're somebody that's fleecing the team.
As long as you're winning, they like you.
Yeah.
The instant you don't start winning, well, then they don't like you.
So this is a situation they're going to definitely have to deal with. And on the flip side, Miami looking damn good.
Uh-huh.
Everybody's clicking right. Tyler Hero, he's playing great, even for coming off the bench. He's been playing absolutely phenomenal. Adeo, he's doing great too.
Yeah.
Bam gives you those tough rebounds in the center, and he definitely takes up that presence. Like I said, he's not expected to drop 30 a night, but he does the little things right. And you see about Jimmy Butler taking over games. He has the capability to do it. Is he going to do it every night? No. But he'll at least give you a solid 20.
Oh, yeah.
Easily.
Oh, easy.
So, and it just depends if who else is going to step up, whether it's PJ Tucker, whether it's Strauss. They have guys on this team for Miami that they can filter in and out, and they can definitely make good things happen.
Mm-hmm.
And for them, they got to be sitting pretty going into this finals.
Oh, yeah.
Because this was a big thing. For Jimmy Butler, it's a lot of emotion, especially beating Philly.
Oh, yeah.
Because he wanted to make a statement. He did. Like I said, calling out Tobias Harris after the game was crazy. But listen,
that's warranted.
It's warranted, and he's not somebody that will shy away from his opinion about that. And that's one thing I love about Jimmy. I wish he was with New York. Oh my God, like I kick, in just over and over. Like, why did we not get him? Just
what could have been?
Yeah, and just I get so emotional. I can't even talk about it. That's how good he is. But they have a big test ahead of them.
Yeah, they do.
With Boston.
Boston very battle tested, taking on the Brooklyn Nets, who, let's face it, as bad as they are, they still whooped them 4-0. That is an accomplishment in and of itself.
Salute to them.
Despite all the nonsense and all the on-court, off-court antics with Brooklyn, they still beat them 4 games. You still had Kevin Durant on the floor, so kudos to that.
Yes, they swept them. We just need to reiterate. They swept Brooklyn.
Yes, they did.
Swept them. Whooped them.
And then, to go into the second, arguably the hardest path of any playoff team this offseason or postseason. Round 1, you play Brooklyn. Round 2, you play Milwaukee, the reigning defending champs. And you go 4-3 in Game 7. You win that one, which, granted, I know Chris Middleton was out. He didn't play. That definitely affected Milwaukee to a certain extent. But still, you still got Giannis there. They still got a lot of good players up there. So, Jesus.
When you have the best player in the league in Giannis, a lot of expectation is there.
Mm-hmm.
In Milwaukee, listen, you can't take anything away from him. He's got his chip.
Yeah, he does.
So them coming into the season, not saying the expectation wasn't there, but I think it's a little lessened because winning again is tough.
It was there, but like they weren't necessarily a lock to be like, yep, they returned all the players from last season. They should repeat. Like, obviously there's some expectation there because, hey, you're the defending champs. It comes with the territory. But I don't think a lot of people had them penciled in to win the whole thing.
No, I mean, I thought they would make a run.
I did too.
Could I see them going back again? Sure. But let's face it, I mean, they are a team that gets streaky. And they need a lot of help and a lot of luck when they get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes it clicks and sometimes it doesn't. On the flip side, though, I know I talked about how well Miami plays as a team. Mm-hmm. Boston plays as a team as well.
They've been around and together for a few years, so they do play good team ball.
Exactly. And you think about Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum is going to be the next big superstar in this league. If you're not on board yet, telling you right now, that kid is going to take this Boston franchise to at least one chip before it's all said and done, unless he leaves to join the Knicks. It's a situation that they have such a nice nucleus. And I stress that again with all these great teams. When you have 3 core players and then you have great role players around them, you have a team. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that Boston does is Boston plays both sides of the ball really well.
Oh, absolutely.
So does Miami. And you saw that with Boston stopping Giannis and slowing him down, I should say. You don't really stop him.
No.
But you slow him down enough that you force somebody else to make the next man up, so to speak. And they really didn't have a great answer for them in this series. I mean, Milwaukee did kind of struggle a bit. I mean, Drew Holiday had some moments here and there. Sure.
Oh, yeah.
But at the end of the day, when you can slow down Giannis, and especially in that final game, which is a Game 7, and we knew this was going to be a scrap, that's so much of a win, just more than on the court. This goes to show that Boston literally says, we don't care who you got on the other side of the court.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to slow you down. And if they slow down Giannis to only 25 in that final game, that's big.
That's a win.
That's a huge win. And then when you have on the other side, Grant Williams, of all people,
Who?
for Boston. Exactly. Dropping 27. And that just balanced out with Jason Tatum's 23.
Yeah.
That is a combo, like I say, when you have that next man up mentality, that helps. And this is something that Boston rotates people in and out very well. They are built to make a deep run here.
Oh, yeah.
So the question now becomes, Boston or Miami, Pad?
I mean, it's going to be very interesting. I think the thing that might hurt Boston is looking at their injury report. You do have Marcus Smart listed as day-to-day, so might play, might not play. Mm-hmm. And then you've also got Sam Hauser, their small forward, listed as out. Those are both as of the 16th. And then on the Miami Heat side of things, you've got Kyle Lowry, their point guard, listed as out. Caleb Martin, their small forward, listed as day-to-day. Gabe Vincent, their point guard, listed as day-to-day. Max Struss, their shooting guard, listed as day-to-day. And PJ Tucker, their power forward, listed as day-to-day. I think if Marcus Smart is able to come back at some point and he's not out for an extended period of time, you got to give this to Boston. They're just way better defensively, offensively, that like they're not one-dimensional or one person as the offense. And if you shut that person down, well, then they're screwed. Mm-hmm. It, like you said, it's next man up. It's Jason Tatum's being double covered up. Marcus Smart here's open. Oh no, they can rotate it around enough and spread the ball enough.
This series rather is going 7.
Oh, easily.
There's no question in my mind this is going to go 7. Both of these teams play both sides of the ball so well. This is like old school San Antonio Spurs basketball, like when they used to take on Detroit back in the heyday.
Oh, yeah.
And you'd have like real defensive grinds and, when they used to go there. This is one of those situations that I am saying it's going to literally come down to who is hot at the last game. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'll make a bold prediction. Jason Tatum is going to have the breakout game of breakout games to close this series out.
All right.
He is the superstar on the rise. He has shown that he can shut down or slow down Kevin Durant, keep up with him in a series.
Yeah.
I don't think Miami has enough firepower to really shut him down if he gets clicking. I think they'll maintain and they'll keep it close.
Yeah.
But I could see Tatum going off. And it just depends, too, like you touched upon. If Marcus Smart is there, that helps out a lot because it'll take some pressure off him. Mm-hmm. But I could also see this coming down to a Game 7 situation where he understands, like, this is going to be a career-defining moment. Can he get the team over the hump and get there?
Right.
He will be tested the entire time by Jimmy Butler and company. There is no question about this in my mind. This is going to be a scrap. This is going to be some of the best basketball you've seen in the pros in a while.
Should be.
And I'm going to say right now, this will be Boston in 7. But I won't say, like, I would be shocked if it went the other way and Miami won in 7 too. The only thing I say I will be shocked in, barring any injuries, not wishing, obviously, is if there was a sweep. If there was a sweep of any sort in this, I would actually be completely blown away.
Right.
Because I just don't see that happening. Both these teams really match up well. I just think that, I mean, Miami does have a little more size to them, in my opinion.
Right.
But I just tell you, I think Tatum is just playing right now with a lot of momentum. And especially, you think about it, you defeat Brooklyn. We can't emphasize that enough. You defeat Brooklyn in a sweep, no less.
Wait, they beat Brooklyn?
In a sweep.
I hadn't heard that.
It feels so good saying that. Sorry, Dre.
Looks like he's throwing something right now.
No, I definitely am going to get that message from Dre. Come on, Ken. Stop. You have Tatum, like I said, defeating Brooklyn, and then he defeats Giannis.
Yeah.
Those are big confidence boosters that going against Miami, you know that Jimmy Butler is going to be game for this. You know he's going to get the rest of the team hyped up for it.
Oh, absolutely.
If you can get over the hump there and beat them, and I think you can, it's you and Golden State in the finals.
Mm-hmm.
How crazy is that series going to be?
I mean, like I said in the preview for the NBA playoffs, throw defense out the damn window.
Well, that one, I think you might see a great offense versus a great defense.
Maybe.
I think Boston will definitely challenge them a little more than they've been challenged by Dallas. Man, it's going to be some fun basketball to watch. I can't wait to watch that series, to be honest with you, Boston-Miami. Going to have a lot to talk about on next week's show about this. So in the meantime, you heard our picks. Now we want to hear yours, ODPH Society. Hit us up on that hashtag ODPHpod. Who you got for the NBA Conference Finals? Are you going with Dallas? Or are you taking Golden State? How about Boston? Or are you going to ride with the Heat? There's only one answer, and that is anybody but Brooklyn. So definitely hit us up, let us know, and give us your thoughts. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nick. I'm the host of Nikolai's Kitchen, and I'm also the host of the annual Livestream for the Cure. Livestream for the Cure is a charity event where we raise money with content creators and podcast partners from around the world for the Cancer Research Institute, a wonderful nonprofit researching cancer immunotherapy, training the body's immune system to fight all forms of cancer. This is a mission and a future that I truly believe in. And myself and my team worked tirelessly over the past 5 years to raise over $50,000 for this cause. This year, we're aiming for our biggest single goal to date of $20,000, and we cannot do it without your help. Please join us for the event May 19th through the 21st, starting at 9 a.m. Eastern, for 45 hours of content from people all over the world. Together, we can bring hope for a future immune to cancer. The more eyes we reach, the more dollars we raise. Please help us in making this goal a reality. Together, we can make a difference.
Coming back for another segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast, we got to talk a little wrestling.
Such good shit.
Yes, so this past Monday night, WWE made some headlines, and not for the right reasons.
Yeah, they did.
Man, the internet has been blowing up. We missed this because obviously we're recording 607 TWS on Twitch every Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But Raw went on, but not without some controversy. So I guess we'll talk about the good of Raw?
I mean, what is it? I gotta just say, first of all, what is it about WWE and going to Norfolk, Virginia? It's always something, because Raw last night took place at the Scope at Norfolk. So, of course, Scorp, Norfolk, 98, you know where I'm going. But you did have the show open with. I was surprised they opened with this. You, of course, had the tease, the tease leading up from last week, almost taking on Bobby Lashley. They had the match at WrestleMania. They had the match at Backlash. Oh, we got to settle this. A little steel cage match. You did have Bobby Lashley emerge, and I'm using air quotes, emerge victorious over Omos in 7 minutes and 32 seconds. Because despite the fact that you have the steel cage, it's supposed to prevent outside interference from getting in. Outside interference still managed to worm its way in. And they decided to go the Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns route, where Omos went to throw Lashley into the steel cage. Lashley then went. Now, whether it was gimmicked or it accidentally happened this way, I don't know.
I'm going to say gimmicked.
Lashley went into one of the walls of the steel cage, and that little portion of the steel wall of the steel cage broke, fell to the ground, and then Lashley rolled off and hit the ground. So almost verbatim, minus the whole spear thing.
Sure.
Like Roman and Lesnar did it. What was it, Crown Jewel, a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
So had that happen, so I was like, oh well, that was kind of a flat ending.
Yeah, nothing really to it. I mean, it was
all right, but like the ending kind of like going, eh.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the highlights of it, and I was like, here we go again. I mean, just a quick way to end the feud, maybe, per se, ...
After that, you had Veer Mahan take on Mustafa Ali with special guest referee The Miz.
Oh, jeez.
And Veer Mahan submitted Mustafa Ali in 2 minutes and 47 seconds because they were pushing this dude to the moon. And listen, say what you will about the build-up and the weight and whether you like him in the ring or not, dude is getting a lot of views on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like in the multi-million-dollar range on YouTube, whether it's for people really liking it or people just curious to figure out what the hell is going on. But you did have that, and then you, of course, did have the Mysterios come out afterwards, and maybe they're setting up for something for that. I'm not impressed with him thus far. Like, he's all right, but like I'm not going, wow, look at this guy. And sending the clip to my friends going, you got to check this guy out. Like, he's all right.
Yeah, I don't understand the love of Veer in his in-ring character.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of it is like a completely different story. He has a very, very good social media game. I'm going to put that out there right now. Like, it's very good. So I can understand the views behind it. I just don't understand where they're going with this. And especially if they're trying to set up, and this is how it's coming across to me, like they're seem to be falling in love with factions lately.
Yeah.
Or six-person tags.
Yeah.
I don't understand why. I mean, in a weird kind of way, it's like they're copying AEW to a degree.
Yeah.
To a small degree, just because of how
maybe
this
it's just easier to book. I don't know.
Well, I think that what they're coming across is they're building towards their major pay-per-views.
Mm-hmm.
And especially if they're doing stadium shows. Like,
which
we have to
they're
remember
doing for a lot, yeah.
They're doing for Money in the Bank. That's going to be in Las Vegas. They're going to do SummerSlam in where the Tennessee Titans play.
Yep.
So I think the pay-per-views in between have kind of felt, I don't want to say downgraded.
Mm-hmm. They're lackadaisical.
Thank you. That's a better word.
They'll say the other one, too, is they're doing the one in England, the Clash at the Castle. I forget. It's at a soccer stadium, though.
Yes. But
so that's another stadium show.
But that's another stadium show. I think they're going all in on these stadium shows, and those are going to be your quote-unquote big shows. And then these other ones, and it's kind of weird to think that Hell in a Cell is now turned into that, but it kind of has.
Yeah.
I think they're loading up for just a lot of tag action to get everybody on the card.
Well, I mean, there's going to be at least one good match on Hell in a Cell that they announced, I think, last night, and that's Cody Rhodes taking on Seth freaking Rollins.
In the cell?
In a cell.
Yeah,
so that should be fucking amazing.
That'll be really good. That's a marquee match right there. So like that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But if they're setting up for Ali and the Mysterios versus Veer, Theory, and Miz, as it kind of looks right now,
I don't care for that.
I'm not invested. I'm just like, whatever. Like, you're not moving the needle forward for anybody. Like,
no.
Except, like, you like touched upon. Veer is getting TV time. People are tuning in to kind of see what the mystique is. Like I said, outside his social media game's on point.
Oh, yeah.
So, after that, I just don't really understand where they're going with this. And especially, like, I thought they would be doing something more with Ali, unless he's the one that takes the U.S. title.
Maybe.
So that's, at the end of it, it should be. Maybe they'll do a scramble match.
Maybe.
That would be a lot better than trying to do a
six-man
tag.
God, yeah. After that, you had Riddle take on Jey Uso and emerge victorious in 10 minutes and 32 seconds. Good match. You know, these two always, put on good work together. And listen, it's just a build-up to there maybe if they do a unification belt match. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought, isn't that supposed to be happening Friday? It keeps getting flip-flopped. Like
the thing is like they were supposed to have it at the pay-per-view.
Right.
They got cold feet or whatever happened, and then they didn't do it. And then it was reported by the Dave Meltzers and the Sean Ross Sapps that, they were never going to do it. They just used that to promote the show and sell tickets. But then they came out on the Monday after the pay-per-view and said they're going to. Whether it happens or not, I'm going to believe it when I actually see it.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I'm not sold on it. Like, at this stage, it's like the New Mutants of title matches.
Uh-huh.
Like, sure, it's going to happen at some point. Just are we going to ever pay attention enough to care about it? Because I understand that with Fox wanting certain wrestlers to stay on shows,
they want exclusivity.
Yeah, that I think I understand that with their champions. I just don't understand that with the tag team titles. But
Right.
then again, I'll get into that a little later in this segment, too, my thoughts about the tag team division in WWE.
Next up was arguably my favorite part of the entire night. You had AJ Styles and Finn Balor take on Angel and Humberto, with Liv Morgan at ringside for AJ and Finn, because there was a backstage segment where Angel and Humberto tried to say, hey, we see what you're going through with the Judgment Day. Why don't we help you? And she goes, no, thanks, I'm good. Then you had Finn and AJ come by and say, hey, listen, you got your issues with Rhea, who's in Judgment Day. We've got our issues with Damian Priest and Edge, who are in Judgment Day. Why don't we, unite together? Why don't we join together and really watch each other's backs? Because if we don't, they're going to start picking us apart one by one.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you join us at ringside tonight for our match? And he goes, maybe I'll think about it. And then she did, in fact, end up joining them at ringside, where you had AJ Styles and Finn Balor emerge victorious in 9 minutes and 15 seconds. It was a really good match. And then after the match, you did have the three of them in the ring together, and they all threw up a little too sweet together. So I am further convinced they're building to a match at some point that will be a 6-man tag match, and we will finally get to see AJ and Finn tag together in WWE.
The only thing I want to see from this is if they're going to do their imitation Bullet Club shirts.
Ooh.
They should just do it now.
Ooh.
Like, this would make a lot of sense to do here.
If they do one, I'm buying.
Yeah, I'm just putting it out there.
And I haven't bought a WWE shirt in a while.
Oh, I know. But if you're going to copy the club, and I understand when they did it with Gallows and Anderson.
Back
when,
that was copyright stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that maybe they could talk to the powers of being and do something better this time. If you're really going to push this, and I think they should.
Oh, absolutely.
If you really want to go into this... I hate saying faction warfare, but if you're going to teeter on that level, do it with the Bullet Club-esque club that you're setting up here.
You need to do this because one of the faction fights I'm sad we never got to see was the quote-unquote Bullet Club with Gallows, Anderson, and AJ, or even Finn if you want to flip-flop Finn or AJ out, against the Shield.
Yeah.
That was teased for so many years, and I read that and I go, that'd be fucking awesome.
Oh, that'd been amazing.
It would have been amazing, and unfortunately we never got it. And now here we are sitting going, hey, AJ and Finn had the one match against each other at whatever pay-per-view it was a couple of years ago, but they've never tagged together on a pay-per-view. Pull the trigger. Do it now before we get to another scenario where it's like, well, shit, that would have been awesome.
Yeah, I just hope they don't do something stupid and have Finn turn on AJ and then join them.
I don't think they'll do that.
No, I think just do the club and just do it for the summer. If you're going to do something like this and you don't have anything for everybody for reasons. Because I will never understand the logic of WWE Creative. If you don't have anything for them, do it. You'll sell some merch. I'm sure that maybe, just maybe, if you decided to try contacting New Japan, maybe they would feel generous and maybe work something out with you for the.
All you got to do is get his Tamatonga's blessing.
Yeah, they'll have to get somebody's blessing because I forget who owns the actual rights for it. I know I'm just kind of spitballing out there, but I'm just putting it out in there. They should do something for it. If you're going to keep doing the Too Sweet, and everybody knows what you're doing with Finn and AJ, let alone if you're going to add Liv, I think it's a good move for her.
Oh yeah,
give her something to really
make her an alumni Bullet Club member. Shit, Jeff Jarrett is at this point.
Yeah, I mean, if you make her a member and then just you have her go in the women's division and represent the club that way, perfect. That's fine. That's an easy storyline to go with. So they need to do something like that.
Next up was a matchup between Alexa Bliss taking on Sonya Deville again because Sonya felt, I got slighted, but all that nonsense. Different night, or same night, different city, same result.
Yeah.
Alexa Bliss emerged victorious, pinning Sonya Deville in 4 minutes and 1 second.
Yeah, I mean, nothing really moving the needle on this one.
Not sure where they're going to go with this. Maybe it's just filler. I don't know.
Well, I think they're trying to build Bliss back up because obviously whatever the idea is with her character now, obviously we're not going to see the Fiend Bliss pop back anytime soon.
At least not. Who's to say, because she still has Lily, so maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, but I think they'll stay off that unless suddenly they re-sign Bray Wyatt. Just going to put that out there.
Yeah. Next up was the matchup between Ezekiel taking on Chad Gable, and you had Kevin Owens at ringside, where you had Ezekiel emerge victorious in 10 minutes and 59 seconds. Listen, the only thing that mattered was you had Kevin Owens there further getting irate about Ezekiel or claiming he's Ezekiel and not Elias.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this. This is arguably the most entertaining segment of Raw each week. And it's all on Kevin Owens for really selling this insanity.
Oh, Kevin Owens is doing the best work of his career.
Yeah, and he's happy. You could definitely tell he's having a good time doing this, and especially for Ezekiel, this is a good move for him as well, too, because you're really moving your character forward, and it's entertaining. Like I say, I'm going to say the match eventually is going to be great. No, but I'll say for right now, it's entertaining. That's
the build-up's amazing because before this match happened, you did have Seth and Cody out there talking about Seth's attack on Cody last week, and that set him up for the match at Hell in a Cell. But you did have Kevin Owens live tweeting during this whole thing.
Oh, that's always good.
He said hashtag countdown to KO, maybe 10 minutes or so. Depends on how long Cody takes for his speech. Stay tuned. Then he added to the thread, hashtag countdown to KO. Cody's asking himself questions. Might be a while. Stay tuned. Then he goes, hashtag countdown to KO. Oh boy, now he's taking a stroll. Stay tuned. He then goes, hashtag countdown to KO. The dude running the spotlight is really working hard to stay on Cody as he moves about the ring. I'm in Gorilla now. Stay tuned. He then goes, countdown to KO. Seth is laughing now. It's going to be a while. He laughs a lot. Stay tuned. Then he goes, hashtag countdown to KO. Man, now Asuka's laughing. Stay tuned. And then he finally goes, oh, my music just hit. Countdown's over. Got to put my phone away. See you there.
Yeah. I mean, at least he was going there. I was hoping he made more of a comment about Cody's fireworks. That would have been amazing. That's the only thing that was missing from that segment. Yeah. But it definitely was worthwhile.
Yeah. And then we get to the main event.
Yeah.
So this main event was initially announced as a 6-pack challenge with the winner going on to take on Bianca Belair at the upcoming Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. And your participants for this match were Naomi and Sasha Banks, the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, Doudrop, Nikki ASH, Asuka, and then Becky Lynch. Mm-hmm. And then right about, I want to say it was a little, it was maybe about 10 o'clock.
Yeah, it was right around 10-ish.
A little bit after 10 o'clock. During one of the segments, first it was reported by, the first one I saw, and this might not have been the first person to say it, but the first person I saw report it was Mike Johnson from PWInsider.com, who I'm reading his article, says, quote, the main event for tonight's Monday Night Raw broadcast changed at the last minute to Becky Lynch versus Asuka after two talents walked out late in the day as Raw went on the air in Norfolk, Virginia. The word making the rounds backstage at the taping is that Sasha Banks took issue with some of the planned creative for the original main event, a Raw 6-pack challenge to determine Bianca Belair's next challenger at Hell in a Cell. Banks had a meeting with Vince McMahon, and the belief among those we've heard from is that when McMahon didn't choose to change the direction on the plans, Banks wouldn't back down on her issues and made the decision to leave the taping. Naomi, her WWE Women's Tag Team Championship partner, left with Banks, even though she was also booked in the main event match. WWE quickly shot several new segments with Adam Pearce and Becky Lynch to instead set up Asuka versus Lynch as the new main event. This is a developing story, so there may be additional updates. So that came from Mike Johnson at PWInsider.com.
Yeah, and he's always reliable. Like, that's...
The event was then brought up going into one of the commercial breaks on the show by Corey Graves, who was he's reading the title cards as they show the matchups coming up, and he brought up the fact that, Sasha Banks and Naomi were supposed to be in the main event, because I think it even got showed on the show that was going to be the main event, and then it got changed, and he brought up that, Sasha Banks and Naomi unprofessionally left the arena, so they're out of the match, and now the matchup was a one-on-one between Asuka and Becky Lynch. Forget Doudrop and Nikki ASH, I guess. Mm-hmm. Could have done a fatal 4-way. I don't know. I'm not creative. But then WWE even went so far as to put out a statement during the show. The show wasn't
This is wild.
The show wasn't even over yet, folks. And they put out a statement, which reads, quote, when Sasha Banks and Naomi arrived at the arena this afternoon, they were informed of their participation in the main event of tonight's Monday Night Raw. During the broadcast, they walked into WWE Head of Talent Relations John Laurinaitis' office with their suitcases in hand, placed their tag team championship belts on his desk, and walked out. They claimed they weren't respected enough as tag team champions, and even though they had 8 hours to rehearse and construct their match, they claimed they were uncomfortable in the ring with two of their opponents, even though they had matches with those individuals in the past with no consequences. Monday Night Raw is a scripted live TV show whose characters are expected to perform the requirements of their contract. We regret we were unable to deliver as advertised tonight's main event, close quote. So then you had the internet spinning and going, what the hell's going on? Mm-hmm. Is this real? Is this kayfabe? What's going on? And I've got an article here from WrestlingNews.co, which cites Wade Keller and his PW Torch audio show. The article says, quote, during his latest PW Torch audio show, Wade Keller gave some insight into the backstage reaction into the Sasha Banks Naomi situation. Keller confirmed that this is not a storyline and they really did leave the building during Raw. What I can report is this is not a work, Keller said. A couple of sources that I trust would know and said definitively that this is not a work, and the reporting that PW Insider and Fightful early on in reporting were accurate. The people that I communicated with directly in WWE tonight after Raw indicated that this was Sasha and Naomi working together, but leaning a little more towards Sasha being the leader and them working each other up, but Sasha kind of leading the way into making this decision. Keller also noted that while it was implied in WWE's statement last night that Sasha and Naomi may have had an issue with their opponents in the six-pack challenge, none of the wrestlers in the match have a history of hurting people. By the way, there's no history of Doudrop or Nikki having a reputation for being rough in the ring. This isn't a Nia Jax type of situation. That's not a thing with them. I don't think there was an issue with Asuka or Becky either. There's not a lot of history of personal issues between them, so the idea that they were uncomfortable in the ring with two of their opponents is not something that I know the details of, like who and why. I can just say that I asked around and there wasn't a pre-existing issue with Naomi and Sasha and anyone in that match. Keller said that some people will side with WWE and others will side with Naomi and Sasha, but more details are needed in this story. He added, I will say that the people I'm communicating with's instinct is they're puzzled, and they say the locker room and management are puzzled by the reaction and the actions of Sasha and Naomi. It feels weird, I'm told. How this all played out, people are just kind of shaking their heads. The instinct with the people that I'm communicating with, is Sasha overreacting to a normal day at work and having been kind of worked up heading into today over some things that might not be all that worth getting worked up over. They're paid to play a role on TV, and WWE said that. Keller continued, behind the scenes, there's not a ton of instant sympathy or a thought of like, finally they took a stand over this injustice, that what's going on. It's more like, what, where did that come from, and how did they get themselves so worked up over this, close quote.
Well, there's a lot to try digesting about this. The initial reaction is, I think that, and this is strictly my opinion. I mean, I don't have any insider information on this. If I'm putting together my opinion about this, I think what it came down to is Sasha and Naomi were presented the idea of doing the six-pack challenge. And if the outcome was going to be, as it's been rumored, that Naomi was going to get the win, then she would face Bianca at Hell in a Cell.
Yep.
And it was rumored Sasha would then take on Ronda at Hell in a Cell too. I think the frustration has been, we're tag team champions. We've won the belts at Mania.
Yeah.
What have we done with them?
Not much.
And now you're going to have both your tag team champions arguably lose to both respected women's champions on the shows. Where is that going with us? What are we doing with this?
Right.
And I think that what sounds like a initial disagreement got superheated, and more or less it was told, well, if you don't like it, you can go home. Like, that's the interpretation I got.
Right.
And I think that both Sasha and Naomi felt a certain way and said, okay, you're going to say that, we're out. Because this doesn't make sense.
Right.
That is how I'm reading it. Now, am I saying it was the right thing to do? I mean, I understand the frustration.
Right.
And especially if it sounds like it was getting heated, because I know the couple initial reports I was hearing is like they've had multiple meetings about this.
Right.
That I think it just finally got time to, everything just boiled over. And that's why they left.
Yeah, I think there's some credence to what you're saying, because I read in a couple places that Naomi was supposed to win the six-pack challenge last night and become the challenger for Bianca Belair at Hell in a Cell. It would make sense also for Sasha to then go on to challenge Ronda at Hell in a Cell for her belt, just because, Charlotte's been quote-unquote written off TV, when in reality, within quote-unquote injury, she's not actually injured, folks. Let me break kayfabe for you a little bit. She's going to get married. Reports are she's going to get married with Andrade at the end of the month. She'll be back for SummerSlam.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, in between time, you need somebody to go in there and face Ronda and have a program with Ronda. Hi, Sasha's a former SmackDown Women's Champion.
Makes perfect sense.
If it is true with some of the reports and some of the stuff I've read that, they being Sasha and Naomi wanted to have this program with Doudrop and Nikki ASH, and why isn't this happening? I understand it. I understand wanting to do it because outside of them winning the belts at Mania, and I think they had that brief little thing with Carmella and Zelina after Mania for a couple of weeks. Nothing real special and nothing real long. Obviously nothing special. I can't really remember when it took place. They really haven't done anything with the women's tag team belts, although arguably you can say that for the entirety of the women's tag team belts. So there's just a lot of hearsay and a lot of stuff going on, and I just don't know what's true and what's not. It's hard to make. Normally I can sit through this and kind of pick it up. All right, in my head this is kind of making sense, and this is kind of where I think things are going, but this is not the case.
Well, I think you hit the nail right on the head. Ever since they've unveiled the women's tag team titles, they have not really done proper justice, in my opinion, with them.
No.
They've been considered an afterthought. They're not really defended that often in big, high-profile programs.
And part of that obviously goes back to the fact that, you have no teams on your roster that are natural tag teams, but there are still enough talent on your roster, and even in developmental, that are good enough that you can pair them together, give them enough time to work with and build together. And then look at Sheamus and Cesaro. When I remember when we were watching Raw weekly, we sat there going, "Why the hell are you throwing these two guys together? This doesn't make any sense." And then they become an amazing tag team together. They have shown that if you give them the time and you give them the right work and the right program, it will work. But you got to have patience with it.
And that's the thing that they don't like doing with the tag team division in general too. I mean, take a look at now. We have the unification bout, quote unquote, that has not happened in how long?
Right.
That everybody was saying was going to happen. This is the problem when WWE falls out of love with the tag team wrestling concept. And this does happen from time to time.
Sure.
Listen, there's always tag team wrestling, but as far as it pushed to a good place on the card,
not always.
Debatable as all can be. And I think in the women's case, unfortunately, they just did the belts, had an idea for the initial outset, and just have really kind of let it fall to the wayside.
Yeah.
And I think that this is something that when Sasha and Naomi took over the belts, and I'm sure when the idea came across about them becoming champions, I'm sure that Sasha and Naomi both said, this is our ideas we want to do, and we have some teams we can work with. Because I don't think there's any question that there is no issue of them working with Nikki and Doudrop. None.
Right.
I think that would have been a good series to get them going and do something with. If you're gonna be champions, you got to defend the belts on TV. Otherwise, it's a forgotten title. I mean, how many times have we ripped other federations for doing this? Now it's time for WWE to take some heat about this. When you're not pushing this title, it's going to fall to the wayside. It's going to become an afterthought. And then if you have champions that are used to being in the main event status, i.e. Sasha Banks. And I'm sure Naomi is sitting there going we should be doing more with the belt as well too. Why are we sitting here going to be just not defending it? But hey, we'll have somebody go over us, and then what does that do for our storyline? Well, we're still tag team champs, and we have nothing to fall back on. And unless if they, and I'm just stressing because like I say, I'm not backstage, I don't know.
Right.
If then they're told, we'll think of something.
Yeah.
I'm sure what happened is, no, we've been champs now for how many weeks? We haven't done anything with them. We now have a program we can run. Let's do this. And I'm sure the powers that be said, no, that's not going to fit the narrative because of X, Y, and Z. And it's a situation, I'm sorry, whoever is booking the show has final say. You might not like it, but you sign a contract to work for them.
Yeah.
So now you're in a weird situation. You walked out. WWE had to do an immediate press release, which, like I say, that's wild. But I think what they knew is the internet, in this day and age, you have to give them something very quick to start quieting the noise.
Oh, yeah.
So I understand that aspect of it. But now you're going to come to a situation of, okay, was this a work to draw some attention to the title? I mean, it quite possibly could be.
I mean, it could get worked into that.
I think if the cooler heads prevail, and I think they will, I think that's how they're going to spin it to get back in.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think at the end of the day, Sasha and Naomi have a legit gripe to be mad.
Oh, they do. Absolutely.
As performers that are very proud of their work and what they've done in the ring, and they're passionate about what they do.
Oh, they're great in the ring.
Yeah. I think it's a situation where if they're sitting there and they've had multiple meetings as what has been reported, and if they're told, yeah, we'll do this, and then no, we're not, and yeah, and then no, and like whatever the case is, then I can understand being frustrated. And I think what happened is you just got more heated and more emotional in it, and about like who's right and who's wrong.
Right.
And you're not going to get anywhere when you're not willing to listen to the other side.
Right.
And I'm sure that if I have to make an assumption, I'm sure the powers that be said, we're booking the show. You signed a contract. You're doing what we're telling you to do because this is part of your job. Mm-hmm. Just go do it.
Well, and probably the time to really vent and get frustrated and real pissed off was probably not day of show.
Oh, exactly.
Like I understand your gripes and your frustrations, and if you really want to get heated and you really want to bring your frustrations up, I get it. But the day of a show, several hours, or even if I'm reading some of this right, that like it was in the middle of the show.
Yeah.
Not the time to do it.
Well, that's
time and place.
That's the whole thing. We don't know the specifics of when they were told the match was getting redone, and then they were going back to the original plan instead of the one that they worked out of. If all the reports are true, whatever you want to believe in. I think at the end of the day is they had an argument. It blew out of proportion because it got heated. And they said, we're told that if you don't like it, go home. And I'm sure that they said, fine, we'll go home. I'm positive that cooler heads are going to prevail. I don't think you're going to see any immediate releases. I strongly doubt it.
No. And I know some people are on the line are already going, oh, Sasha's going to go to AEW. If you think WWE is about to let Sasha Banks go because of this, you are on some real special drugs.
Yeah.
You are out of your goddamned mind.
And I will also double in on that rumor. No, Sasha or Naomi will not be the Joker facing Britt Baker in the Owen Hart tournament. I have had some inquiries asking about that. No, I will already say that's a lock. That's not happening. Unless something weird happens within the next 24 hours that there is an immediate release with no compete clause waived.
Which Vince would have to be in a coma and somebody else running the company for that to happen.
Yeah.
He's not going to let that happen.
There's no chance in hell that's going to happen. Pun intended. I think what's really going to happen is they're going to meet up again and cooler heads are going to prevail and they'll come to an agreement of whatever the case is going to be.
Yeah.
I think you will see, maybe not at Hell in a Cell, but I think you'll see sooner than later Sasha and Naomi taking on Nikki and Doudrop.
Yeah.
And they'll run a program there. Mm-hmm. I think that's ultimately what's going to happen. Or they're going to do something different with the titles and they're going to just pay Sasha and Naomi to stay home. I mean, we've
done it before.
We've seen this happen in the past. That I think that at the end of the day, I mean, they change their minds for whatever reasons.
Yeah.
But guess what? It's their company.
Oh, yeah. They were perfectly willing to let Neville Pac sit at home for how long?
Exactly.
A couple of years.
Them, the Revival at one point, Ali. I mean, let's face it. When you are contracted with them, it's their rules. You might not like it, but they're the ones paying the bills. They're the ones paying you as an independent contractor, so to speak.
Well, they're not always total dicks. Candice LeRae's contract did expire, and they could have held on to it for, you were out for X number of months because of the pregnancy, and they chose not to do it.
Yeah, I mean, not like I say, they're not completely saints, but you know what? They do have moments where they are working with wrestlers in cases like this. But for this specific example, more news is coming out about it. Be careful where you're reading it to. And just wait to see how this all pans out. But if you're asking me my opinion, yeah, they had a heated argument, and I'm sure that Sasha was saying, why are we doing this when we can do this? And Naomi was saying, I agree with her. And they had the idea of we should be defending the belts. We're going to be tag team champions. We're going to put some energy back into this division and do something with it. And if the powers that be didn't want to do that, that's their call. But at the end of the day, it's like, well, are you willing to walk home? And I'm sure they said, if you don't like it, get out of here. Or something to paraphrase. I'm sure they said, and you know what? And I know Sasha and Naomi probably said, you know what? Fine, we're gone. Here's your belts. Do whatever you want with them. We don't care. Either way, it's causing a lot of buzz on the internet today. So hit us up on that hashtag ODPHpod. What is your theories of what is going on with Sasha and Naomi? You heard ours. We want to hear yours. Let's talk a little pro wrestling. Let's keep it positive. Let's not get toxic. And if you want more pro wrestling talk, you can obviously check out 607 TWS on Twitch and in podcast form, and also Blogs Count Anywhere, where we finally got photos, Pad.
Hey.
It's a minor miracle, but sometimes they do happen.
Hey, W.
So that said, that's on odphpodcast.com. Go check out the articles. Go check out, we talked a lot of independent pro wrestling this week, so definitely let's have that conversation, shall we? We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
This is Tom from Tom Joe Lou,
This is Matt from Sideroom Sounds.
and you're listening to ODPH Podcast.
Wanna go where no one knows my name, to the desert, the oceans, or the plains. 'Cause I wanna...
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. Pat, what you got?
Got to talk a little local minute. Obviously, looking at the Binghamton Rumble Ponies and their schedule from the last week since we recorded. They won their game on Tuesday the 10th. Final score of 2-1. I should mention all these games are against the New Hampshire baseball team. Won their game on Wednesday. Final score of 9-2. Lost their game on Thursday. Final score of 7-2. Lost on Friday 7-3. Won on Saturday 9-4. And then lost on Sunday 5-4. They now start a 6 game homestand against Akron. They had a game earlier today. It was a day game because it was baseball and education day, so it was for all the kids.
Oh, that's cool.
Unfortunately, they lost by the final score of 5-2. They got a game this coming Wednesday, 6:35 p.m. Eastern, which is Week Care Wednesdays. The 19th, Thursday, they've got another game, 6:35. Thursdays, 20th, again, is against Akron, 6:35 p.m. Eastern. That is Girl Scouts night, so Girl Scouts will be able to get in there. Also, it is, I know, fireworks night, Toyota fireworks night, so
Hey.
fireworks will be rocking. And then on Saturday, the 21st, it is a Good Life night. That is at 6:35 p.m. Eastern. And then Sunday, the series finale against Akron. That is 1:05 Eastern. That is Family Fun Day and Senior Sunday. And then they start there on the road next week before they return home on the 30th, where they're playing the AA affiliate of the Yankees.
Hey.
So the Yankees will be making a run here at the end of May, beginning of June. More tickets, information, and all that good stuff, bangrp.com.
I was going to say, it's not summertime unless you get down to the stadium.
This is true.
I know. We've been making do. And I know that they unveiled the early photos for the Doctor Strange jerseys.
Yes, they did. Those look really awesome, and I know they're doing the City Connect jerseys, which are kind of like the ones they've been doing at the Major League level. Look really fucking cool. It's got like the Binghamton skyline in like the lower third of the jersey, and then it's got Bing in kind of like the Rumble Ponies font style. So it looks really cool. I might actually have to get one of those.
Yeah, I definitely had to plug that before we stopped talking ponies there. So back to you.
So switching over to some XFL news.
Hey.
Yes, XFL news. That is the once owned Vince McMahon franchise that is now owned by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, which is setting to start next year. I'm reading from an article on ESPN.com because this was announced at the Disney Upfronts as we record. The headline reads, XFL reaches multi-year agreement to air all games, including playoffs, on ESPN and other networks owned by the Walt Disney Company.
Really?
Yeah, so the article reads, quote, starting next year, the XFL will have all its regular season and playoff games air on ESPN and other networks owned by the Walt Disney Company as part of a multi-year agreement. It was announced Tuesday. Beginning in February 2023 and continuing through the spring, 40 regular season XFL games, 2 playoff semifinals, and a title game will air on ESPN, ABC, and FX. It was revealed at Disney's Upfront event. The deal also includes content rights for Disney's digital, social, and streaming outlets such as ESPN+. The 8-team XFL is returning under new owners Danny Garcia, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and Jerry Cardinale's Redbird Capital Partners. In February, the XFL reached a partnership agreement with the NFL that will focus on creating innovation, and protecting the health of players. This is a definitive movement for the XFL and the beginning of an incredible long-term partnership for the league, building on my long-standing, very successful legacy relationship I've had with Disney throughout my career, Johnson said in a statement. So that's super exciting for them and definitely, gives them a good foothold in getting in the American and the world viewership by putting it on ESPN, ABC, and FX, and thereby also being prominently featured on ESPN Plus and Hulu, since Disney owns like more than 50% of Hulu.
It's wild to think that it's coming back and
It might work.
it might work. Like I say, it trips me out because I mean, obviously we've seen the other incarnation.
Shout out, he hate me.
Yeah, that failed out, and I know when they came back and we started hearing talks about the XFL, and then we've had a couple different football leagues come through, and obviously USFL just kind of started playing and doing their own thing. It's wild to think that this is now got the shot.
Yeah, well,
and it's nothing against the other federations too. It's just like we've been here before. The expectations have been, in my opinion, very low.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with the first run through was that, like, it was not what football fans were expecting, so it was hard for them to get into. It was more, I'd say, pro wrestling than actual football.
Yeah, it wound up turning that way.
And then with the second run through, when they brought it back, I think, if memory serves, that was coming back right around the time the pandemic was starting. So that I think that was the issue they ran into the second time, was they might have had a shot, but then the pandemic hit, and the world, got all sorts of crazy. But with The Rock has yet to have a venture fail.
Yeah.
And something he has invested a lot of money into. He's got the Zoa energy drink, which I know is like the number one selling energy drink on the market right now. And they just launched their pre-workout drink that they got. I've had Zoa myself. It is, for someone who has tried Red Bull and I've tried, a couple other energy drinks, they really didn't do anything for me. Zoa's fantastic. I cannot recommend it enough. He's also got the Terramana tequila line, which does very well. I just saw on his social media just the other week, they broke ground on I don't think it's a second location for like the where they make the Terramana. I think it's an extension onto the building they have.
Yeah.
So they're already doing so much money that they have to expand the facilities they're making the tequila at. This dude has yet to make something or get his money invested into something and not have it work. So we'll see, but this looks like it's got a shot.
I mean, it definitely does have a shot because the federation I was thinking of was the Alliance of American
Oh,
Football.
yeah.
I blank on that, but like you say, you see all these upstarts and you're like, okay, is it going to be lasting? Like, how am I going to get invested into this? But with The Rock, like you touched upon, I mean, like everything he touches turns to gold for the most part.
Well, and especially like we mentioned, it's got the partnership with the NFL that is creating innovation programs and protecting the health of players. The NFL is going to be involved in this, so this might be a way for teams, pick a team, I don't care who, but if they got a player who goes down and they need to get a guy in there, hey, we got the XFL, why don't we sign somebody from over there?
See, this would be a perfect thing. I mean, I know that at least right now they're not doing it for all the practice squad players. Develop a farm system and do that. Like, as weird as that sounds for the NFL.
Right.
I think you could do that.
I mean, you kind of have something like that with baseball where once the season gets over, you do have, I think it's called the Dominican League. There are other leagues, and then there's the Winter League, which takes place in either Southern California or Arizona, someplace warm. Where there are guys that, like, obviously the Mike Trouts and the Aaron Judges and the Shohei Ohtanis don't go, but you do have some guys that, like, they need to brush up on their skills. They need to sharpen some stuff. You do see them go through there. So this could be that for the NFL.
Yeah, this could be something definitely big to watch moving forward.
Yeah.
But let's close out this show talking some hockey.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yes, Pad. See, I'll give everybody else their shine because obviously Stanley Cup playoffs are going on.
Yes.
First round is a wrap. Second round is about to ready to take off. Colorado swept Nashville in the first round 4-0. St. Louis defeated Minnesota 4-2. Definitely a good series there. Calgary defeated Dallas in 7 games.
Okay.
So keep track of this, though.
Yep.
So that's our first 7-game series. Flames and Stars.
I'm counting fingers here.
Edmonton defeated the Kings 4-3, 7 games.
2.
Florida defeated the Capitals in 6 games.
Okay.
Tampa Bay snuck one out against Toronto 4-3.
Okay, that's 3.
And then Carolina took Boston to the limit and won their game 7.
That's 4.
That's 4. But the games, that all doesn't matter because we have one series to talk about. Then went 7 again. So 5 series in the first round.
That might be unheard of. I don't know. I'm not a statistician.
Because one team came back and did the unthinkable, as they say. It was unparalleled. It wasn't going to happen. I mean, I was still rooting for my team, but I had my doubts. I'm not going to lie about this.
Given that one game where they were lost 7-2, yeah, understandable.
Yeah, understandable. But Blue Shirt Nation, stand the puck up.
Reggie Miller, your thoughts?
Oh, my God. Quoting the article from NHL.com, New York is the 31st team in NHL history to come back down 3-1 and win a postseason series.
Wow.
And is the first team in playoff cup history to win 3 consecutive comeback wins in elimination games within the same series.
Nuts.
No Blue Shirt Nation when you see them. Let's go. Oh, my dear Lord in heaven.
This isn't without you sweating things in Game 7 because Dabo was there.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I know. I saw Dabble's roll up in the garden. I'm like, oh, God. Oh, boy.
Dabble, 2-minute offense. Shit.
I got freaked out. But let's face it, the Penguins gave the Rangers all they could have, up 3-1. It was tough. And to be honest with you, this is such a gritty win for the Rangers, and especially for being such a young team. It's phenomenal to see. Not saying this just as a Rangers fan, but seeing them really grind it out against a team that, listen, I understand that Crosby was out and the injury from Trouba. Listen, I sighed. I thought it was a little suspect. I will be honest about this.
Sure.
I thought it was. I thought Trouba, in my opinion, played very suspect this entire series. There was that high stick that came late in Game 7, causing some blood that was unnecessary. He's got to play better in this next round. But I thought you had players step up. I thought Lindgren played out of his damn mind, helping out. And like I said, you had a lot of guys doing the little things. Chido looked great, too, for the Rangers. Adam Fox played really solid. Lafreniere, the first-round pick, started showing that signs of he was the real deal after all. But then there was one guy that really jumped in. I mean, Chris Kreider did his thing, too. I got to give Kreider a shot.
Oh, yeah.
Mika Zibanejad.
Hey.
Man, did he ever come in clutch when he needed to.
That dude in face-offs in Game 7 was insane.
Yeah.
They kept throwing the stat up on, I think the game was on TBS. They kept throwing up the stat with like whoever was for the face-off, and just the stats for Mika. He was winning almost every face-off.
It was
insane.
He played out his damn mind. Like, completely top to bottom, played out his mind for this.
That dude, Mika in face-offs was like Steph Curry in NBA 2K with like easy mode turned on.
Yeah. I mean,
could not miss.
Yeah, that was the one thing that he got in there and he just got so in a zone and really just put the pressure on. And when they needed to get the puck back, they got it from him. And let alone, he was nailing shots than they needed to.
Oh, yeah.
And especially in Game 7, because once the Pens went up, the Rangers answered right back. Andre Miller had a great goal, which, I mean, like, listen, that was a momentum shifter that they needed. But for this playoff series, they definitely grinded out. And Igor Shesterkin.
Shasty.
I believe in Igor. That's my hashtag. I will yell that loudly. This was just such a gritty performance for the Rangers. Yeah,
no, it was great for them. And I know some Pittsburgh fans are saying, well, we got Crosby, we still didn't win. Listen, Crosby missed, one full game and then like half of another game? You still blew a 3-1 lead.
I'll tell you what happened. Listen, if you really want it broken down, your jury didn't play.
Yep.
He was hurt for most of this. You relied on Louis Domingue, who, like, listen, if you listen to that first broadcast, they were anointing him the second coming.
Yeah.
So, like, let's put it out there. That's one reason why. And another one is when you had the Rangers on the ropes, you didn't close. You're a team that has Malkin, Letang, and a lot of veteran leadership. Jeff Carter on there, too.
Yeah.
You had guys on there that know how to close, and you didn't. That you really, I don't want to say put it in cruise control, but let's face it, games 5 and 6, yeah.
Well, and also, too, they had the one goalie go down because of cramps or injury, whatever.
Second one, yeah.
You know, and they had the kid step in that had played like maybe 20 minutes all season. I know they brought it up on the broadcast. So like they were praising the kid because he's like, oh, you know, he didn't get to start in Game 1, but he had to come in because of the circumstances, and he played every game since. Like, he did perform well considering the circumstances of, like, he played, like, maybe 20 minutes all season, if that. You know, and then stepped up. But, like, still, you asked a lot of a kid who didn't necessarily have a lot of game time experience to get thrown into the playoffs.
No, you didn't, but this is also why you run deep in your team. Like, this is why they had the 3 goalies there. Like, this is one of those situations, like, you have to go with the hot hand you had. And you know what? Domingue was winning games until very end. So you have to kind of look at this. I just think that they relied too much on their stars, in my opinion. I think that the Penguins really felt themselves, and when you do that, you rely on your stars to close too much. I think they did that here. And I think that's what came back to bite them in the ass. Because the one thing the Rangers did is they grinded out. Like, it was a weird flip.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you right now, Game 4 to Game 5 was a weird flip. Because Pittsburgh had been grinding out the Rangers. They had been winning the forecheck. They've been putting pressure on them. And the Rangers looked lost at times.
Mm-hmm.
Completely lost, especially Game 4. Game 4 was atrocious.
Hey.
5-2. Like, I'm sorry, that's a joke. Sherzkin was completely out of his element there.
Yep.
And I was like, let's see what the kid's got. He bounced back, and it was a gutty win in Game 5.
Yes.
Game 6, even more so gutsy. But Game 7, in overtime, where, listen, momentum had shifted, especially with that nonsense call. And listen, you can call it a homer pick. I don't give a shit. That was such a bullshit call of a high stick goal for the Penguins because you fully saw that stick was over the bar.
Uh-huh.
There was 2 camera angles that were clear as day.
Uh-huh.
As day, people.
Uh-huh.
And in hockey terms, you cannot do that. That is called high sticking, in case you're not familiar.
You also had at least 3 networks covering this with TBS, the Sportsnet Canada, and then also MSG in the tri-state area. So there were at least 3 network angles of that.
Yeah. And everybody was saying the same thing. You can't call that. And it was a weird stat that came up on Twitter, and I apologize, I can't remember who I retweeted it, actually.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh won 4 of those 50-50 replay calls this entire series.
Interesting.
Rangers didn't win any.
Interesting.
Just saying. Because I know that in Game 1, there was that controversial goalie interference that was completely goalie interference.
Right.
But that changed the whole course of the series. I mean, granted, you go to triple overtime. Listen, any team that wins in triple overtime earns it. And I don't fault either team there.
No.
You go to triple overtime, everything's fair game. But I will say, I honestly thought they're going to shift momentum against the Rangers in this one. I really did. But they grinded it out. They got key goals when they needed to. Kreider looked great in this series at the end. Mika did Mika things. He's the MVP of this first-round series.
Yeah.
And dare I say, the breadman, Panarin, came through clutch with the goal that is now the iconic photo of Rangers hockey right now.
Probably getting put up in a mural in the Garden.
As it should. Because Artemi, he did his damn thing. And this was, and honestly, when he shot that thing, I didn't think it had any chance. I thought it was at such a bad angle, it was never going to go in. But damn it, I was never more happy to be wrong. I lost my voice for a day. I have no shame in that. I will scream it. The Penguins got a lot of questions going this offseason. I know they got some contracts up. And you also have to look at the leadership on that team because you guys are the superstars. Your team looked to you to close, and you didn't. That's what it boils down to. When you're up that big, you have to close. And it's shocking as I'm trying to be unbiased here as much as I can. So give me some credit on this.
Sure.
The Penguins have enough talent. They know how to close, and yet they couldn't find a way to do it. That blows my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry. I think that's where the fault goes. When you're up 3-1, you thought the series was a wrap. And you didn't close. And the minute you let that go to Game 7, all bets were off. You got what came to you, Pittsburgh. Sorry. I know it's not the popular thing to say, but listen, the Rangers punched you in the mouth, and you let them off the hook, and they kept staying around for the fight. Nobody to blame but yourself about that. You guys are professionals. You guys have the team to do it. Malkin can close by himself.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to hear this Crosby nonsense. Granted, I think it was bullshit he got taken out, but because, I blame Trouba. I'm sorry. I'm saying it was a bad hit. But either way, you guys should have closed out, and you didn't. So no sympathy for you. Let me know how the offseason goes. Because now, unfortunately, the Rangers have a very, very tough task ahead of them.
Yeah.
With the Carolina Hurricanes. I am going to say this. A lot of the analysts right now have picked against the Rangers. And they're saying Hurricanes in 6.
Yeah, keep receipts.
I keep receipts as well, Pat. Because I think this is going to be another 7 games.
Probably.
And I'm giving Carolina all the credit in the world, too. They are probably the worst matchup for the Rangers because their defense is hard-hitting and nasty.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to definitely be putting a lot of pressure on Igor and company. And this is a situation that can the Rangers keep this momentum going? I think they can. Am I saying they're going to be sweeping or anything like this? No, by no stretch of the imagination. They're not going to do that. But I think for this team to win, The Rangers have to win those forecheck battles. You're going to need more consistency out of Panarin and Lafreniere.
Mm-hmm.
It can't all rely on Mika and Chris Kreider. You're going to need to get somebody else to kind of get that pressure off, because I'm going to tell you right now, Carolina is going to go in there to punch you in the mouth. And they're probably going to do a lot of that. And if the Rangers can bounce back from that, I like their odds. Granted, they're going to be facing the winner of Florida.
Yay.
Which, how crazy is that between Tampa Bay and Florida?
Yeah.
But this is hockey, and this is the best time of year to watch, and I cannot stress enough. If you haven't started watching the NHL playoffs, you need to start watching. You can definitely hit me up at ODParlayR and talk Rangers hockey. I try tweeting as much as I can during the games, but let's face it, it's one of the few times I cannot focus on social media, so I just throw my phone down, and I'm just like, fuck it, I don't care. But you'll catch me at intermissions. I definitely interact with everybody about that, and it's Blue Shirt Nation till I die. Enough said. Let's go, Rangers. That being said, the music you heard on this edition of the ODPH is that of Brian Wolf. Now, if Brian's not a Rangers fan, and I found out he's another team pad, we're taking him out of rotation.
Uh-oh.
I'm making that point. I know Jimmy Gazik is a Rangers fan, so we'll play Floodlands to close out the rest of the playoff series. I don't care. I'm growing my playoff beard for a reason, folks. That's how dedicated I am for this shit. But, Pat, if I want to find out about Brian, where do I go?
ODPHpodcast.com.
Right on. You swing on over to the music section. You check out everything going on with Floodlands, because, you know what, I know they're Rangers fans. Tom Jolu. I'm not sure if he's a Rangers fan, but I'm going to go find out. I know that Tom Dowd is, and he's the guitarist from Floodlands. So, you know what? I think we are going to close with some Floodlands tonight, damn it. We're going to keep this Rangers on the sports program till further notice. But you can also check out everything going on with Shout, everything going on with Yard Party, Second Suitor, who's out playing gigs right now. It's a beautiful time to be supporting those guys. They're doing some big things for the summer, so definitely make sure to check that out. Also, while you're at the website, check out Parlay Points. New blogs count anywhere out this week. So we're talking Glory Pro Wrestling. Free card on YouTube Sunday, Pat.
Nice.
So definitely I got to send you the link for that. You got to get in the Glory Pro. You would like Glory Pro. It's
okay.
No deathmatch wrestling. They just do a lot of really cool stuff. Davey Richards versus Eddie Kingston this week. So definitely worth checking out. Also talking some GCW, talking some Excite Wrestling, who made some announcements. So excitewrestling.com, or just follow them on Facebook. That's where Moose updates everything first. Not going to lie.
Yes.
We're cutting it straight from the hip here. Well, that all comes from Parlay Points. So you go check out the blogs. Check out the comic book blogs, too, if you got something. Got a big one dropping Wednesday. Huge. Also, while you're at the website, check out the classified section, which has friends of the show, organizational links supporting Black Lives Matter, all the amazing pod groups we're in. So shout out to the aPODalypse, shout out to the Inner Circle, shout out to Brian Wayne, Cheers to Comics, and shout out to 8122 Productions and our guys over there at 3 Fat Nerds. Horror Zone 607 came back strong this week. And they got a lot of stuff going on, too, especially some new shows rolling out. I'm hearing about Pad. So if you want to find out what's going on with them, 8122productions.com. Also, check out the directory because, Pad, how many providers are we on now?
22,304.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I lose track every now and then. That's why I ask Pat every show, because he keeps track of this. So if we're not on your favorite podcast provider, you just go right to the directory, and you'll find us on Apple Podcasts. You'll find us on Good Pods. You'll find us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher. If we're not on your favorite provider, let us know. We'll try making sure we put that link up there. We try making it that easy for you to hear the ODPH each and every week. Also, TeePublic Store links are up there as well. And probably the biggest thing we can say about this week, Livestream for the Cure. It's right on the homepage. And we go live this Thursday, twitch.tv/livestream FOR The Cure. So no numbers involved here. It is a streamathon for 3 days involving some of the greatest content creators on the planet, raising money for the Cancer Research Institute to create a future quote-unquote hashtag immune to cancer. So this is an event we're very proud to be a part of. Rich and I will be on Friday night to close out 11 p.m. doing wrestling trivia, Pad. So Rich has got some questions lined up, got some giveaways we're going to be doing. So if you heard 607 TWS, you know the tier deal. And we'll see if we can put out some tweets explaining it also. If you're doing some donations, very simply, hit us up with those donations and a screenshot, and you'll be entered into the contest. We also need contact information as well. So DM those at 3 Fat Nerds Pod and at OD Parlay Hour if you're donating. Show us what you did for the live stream for the Cure. You'll be entered in that as well. So all that and so much more, cannot stress enough, odphpodcast.com. That's all I got for this week. So for the one and only Pat 1J.
Fuck the Astros.
I'm your host, Ken M. Fuck the Penguins. And, Brooklyn, we've already done enough damage to you this episode. We'll let you off. No, I'm kidding. Enjoy the offseason. Thank you, as always, for listening to the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. Go Rangers. We'll see you next time.
Wanna go where no one knows my name, to the desert, the oceans, or the plains. 'Cause I wanna go where people I don't know come and invite me in. And those same people that were strangers now call me their friends. Then I'll go back to the twilight zone where it's so strange but it still feels like home. 'Cause I wanna go to the bar where the ghost turns the jukebox on, and they play their favorite songs all night long. Then I'll go till someone knows my name. Then I'll go somewhere in the world like the UK or Spain. Go to the places I thought I never know. 'Cause the road is the second place that feels like home. Like home. Then I'll go back to the twilight.